Grand Rising. This is actually the first time I've gone live on my Rumble, so I'm just going to actually just have a look and check that it's worked okay. I'm just checking and testing. I don't know if anyone's joined this streaming platform as well. I'm using. I haven't used before, so bear with me. But what I wanted to do, yes, it's working. Okay, perfect. What I wanted to do is I watched the documentary Christspiracy the other day, and I've been wanting to watch it for ages. Half of me was like, I half don't want to because I half didn't want to see anything like footage that's just like really painful to watch. Because when I first went vegan, I first kind of like awoken to what was going on and started watching the videos because I kind of felt like I had to really just like really see it to be able to share with people the truth. Sometimes you actually just have to look at the truth. Like sometimes you just can't get around not facing the deep, dark, horrible truth. In fact, it's actually through facing the deep, dark, horrible truth that you can really, truly awaken to your compassion and things like that. If you never look into the darkness, into your own darkness, or the darkness you're supporting, or the darkness that's going on into the world, it's too easy to be airy, fairy, love and light, where we then ignore all the crap that's really going on, all the stuff that people suffer through. And I also feel on a spiritual level that we need to bear witness to what's been going on so that the souls that have gone through it aren't forgotten, so that a record has been taken by those who are at the light to feed back to God, like what's been going on down here. And when judgment comes, that that nothing's gone hidden, nothing, like whatever's gone on in the dark comes to light. And of course, how are we meant to like wake up or share the truth to other people and make other people aware if we aren't brave enough to look at them ourselves? And also, if you think it's hard to look at the truth and hard to watch the videos of the slaughterhouses and stuff, you think that's hard, you think being vegan's hard, try being the one that's going into the slaughterhouse, try being the one that's in the chutes, which is like a small tunnel. The animals kind of get shuffled into this small kind of tunnel. They can't turn around to leave. They want to leave because as they're getting edged and pushed down this tunnel, they're getting slaughtered at the end, and it's like a queue of them getting slaughtered. And so they can smell the blood, they can sense the fear, they're fully aware of what's going on, and the people or the beings around them, most likely their friends and family who they come in herds, so they'll be with their herd. And honestly, the fact that people don't understand, or some people don't understand, that animals have like a full-blown conscious awareness experience. It's the same as humans having to go through that. Animals are so much more aware and intelligent than we could ever even imagine. And this is something that we're seeing more and more every day on social media, because we're going on socials and we're seeing videos of animals who can talk using buttons or using an iPad, or people who can even speak telepathically to animals. And animals just being so aware, so sentient, so loving, so kind, so caring. No, all of them. Some of them have been infiltrated by the night. Some animals are evil, just as they are evil human. And I cancel and delete that spell because it's no a spell I want to cast out and create further in this plane. However, it's important that we see them as brothers and sisters, souls that deserve or that serve to live. So I watched Christspiracy, and half of me was like, I don't want to watch it because I don't want to see anything gory. But then I also was really interested in the religious side of things, because when I first went vegan, my main thing that triggered my awakening was probably going vegan, I think. So I went vegan first, and then I was like really just like suddenly on this mega spiritual path where I was like looking into quantum physics and the soul and the masculine and feminine energies within every person, and why some people feel like a man trapped in a woman's body or the vice versa, and how we've got past lives and out of body experiences and all sorts of stuff. And because I was vegan at the same time, and I was like aware of animals and their souls and the cycle of reincarnation, and how you can actually reincarnate from an animal to a human, or you can reincarnate from a human to an animal, and what karma is and what kind of karma you would get through the food you eat and through the acts that you do to animals, or even through animals and stuff like that. So I was like looking into it all. And for me, and this was just my path, but this, like, I was like, no, awakened to this. But for me, it was like veganism and spirituality go hand in hand. Like, you can't have one without the other. You're missing your next awakening and your next step in your awakening journey if you aren't doing one or the other, or doing both. So like, yeah, like I actually learn about Christ, Jesus Christ and Christianity from my vegan spiritual teacher, who became enlightened, attained Christ consciousness, and followed the true Christ's path. Know the Jesus Christ that you see in the Bible, because the Christianity and all the religions, they've all been infiltrated over time to put people off the truth, off the real path, to stop people from following how Christ lived, how Jesus lived, how Buddha lived, how Krishna lived, how all the ascended masters lived. And instead they've added dark magic, black magic into the texts, into the ways of being, to put people off the true path, to disconnect us from God and our spiritual senses. And it's like the night has infiltrated these different areas to try and block God from this plane. So I, when I was vegan and I like found out about the path of the Christ, the path of Jesus, and how to actually become a Christ myself, because everyone can. It's called enlightenment. It's called the holy science. It's called the way. It's the way that the Essenes lived, the Nazarenes lived. There's many different spiritual paths that actually still have this truth, the alchemy kind of thing. And I basically first learned about Jesus because when I was like vegan and going on my spiritual path, I never really believed that Jesus was real. I wasn't into Christianity. Probably of all the religions, I probably resonated most with Buddhism, but I never really looked into the religions. I really just started off on a spiritual path and stayed on a spiritual path. However, learn along the journey the way that all religion actually has truth in it as well. And it was all based on this one way, this one path, this one way to the light and to God, this way of living, this Christic way of living, or this Buddhic way of living, that would help us get back to the way that God created us, which is enlightened, ascended, being ascended masters on this plane, mastering thyself. And being a Christ consciousness on this plane, because everyone can become a Christ, because the title Christ actually means anointed one. Jesus's last name wasn't Christ. Christ is a title meaning anointed one, illuminated one, same as Buddha, it means illuminated one. And so all of the different paths, all of the different religions, they started off with human on not living right. Basically, humans were arguing, not connected to God, whatever it was. We were in a state of spiritual turmoil, and the ascended masters, these luminaries, the gods, the lights, the heavens, the archangels, they would come down onto earth and incarnate on this plane. And they would come down pretty much every new age. So every, say, 2,000 years, they would come and incarnate onto earth, and they would teach, they would basically live this life, follow this specific path to attain Christ consciousness, to become a Christ, to become a Buddha. and this is what Jesus did, this is what the Buddha did, this is what like Krishna, Muhammad, they all did this. They all followed this same path, this same truth, lived this certain way, attained Christ consciousness, and then taught people around them how to do the same. It birthed the religions of that age, of that time. And then as time has gone on, the religions, they still have a lot of truth in them, but they also got edited, manipulated, and changed, as have many spiritual paths. The New Age thing with aliens and stuff. There's many paths that people walk that the night have infiltrated, and the night have infiltrated even like doctors, schools. They've infiltrated not just the spiritual path, but food industries. Like they've infiltrated the whole of this world and this plane, cancel and delete all that to never give them that power anymore. In the past, they'd infiltrated every walk of life to attack us in every single way possible, from every angle possible, to cause our downfall spiritually and physically, but they're all intertwined, because our physical vessel is a crystallization of our energy. And with we have something called chakras, which are energy ports in our energy boots, which means bodies. Like, so our energy body's got these ports, these portals that bring in and out light or energy. There's like 7 main ones. There's many more, but people always talk about these 7 main chakras, these 7 main ports of light. Well, our portals, the 7 main ones, they actually directly correspond to our 7 main glands in our endocrine system. So they are interwoven, they're connected deeply. And so if you have any issues with your glands, it'll affect your chakras or your ports. And the same if you have issues with those chakras, it'll affect the corresponding gland. And so that's why your spiritual bodies and your physical body, they're fully intertwined. They aren't separate, or you can't just like get unwell in one and not expect the other one to follow. I want to just check if anyone's been like watching or typing comments, because I've not received any comments in the streaming platform yet. I don't actually know if I'm guessing it's working. So veganism is a big part of this, walking this path to become a Christ. My spiritual teacher, when I first met him, he was like the very start of my awakening. I'd met him at like a vegan party, and he introduced me to God and Christ through veganism, and basically said, you can find God and Christ eating meat. You can find them. You can be a follower of God and Christ, and you can like have them in your life. But if you want to become a Christ, like how Christ taught Mary Magdalene, all his followers, they didn't just follow him, they actually followed the path he walked, lived the lifestyle he lived, so they became enlightened masters as well. So enlightenment isn't reserved for just the few, it's reserved for everyone, because enlightenment is how God made humans when he first created us in a ascended state. And when he created us in the Garden of Eden, we were enlightened, and this is our natural baseline state, is to be enlightened and to have Christ consciousness on this plane. And that means basically having so much light in our energy boots and our physical vessel that we can anchor in Christ light, which is a really high frequency light. We can actually hold that within our vessel, because we have that light and strength and no darkness within us to actually hold and anchor that in. Then we are Christic lights on this plane. And that's our natural way. That's why God created us in his image. He created us as enlightened beings. What happened is, in the Garden of Eden, I don't know what exactly happened to make them descend, but what happened was human descended, and what that means is they lost their light somehow. Somehow they were either tricked, maybe into eating animal products, or into orgasming too many times. Something happened where their light was either contaminated, or they gave it away and lost it, and then they descended in light and frequency, and that Christ consciousness couldn't stay anymore, simply because it wasn't resonating with the same frequency. So Christ consciousness left, which means then that you embodying your highest light, you embodying God's light on this plane that got disconnected, it left. And as the light left, so did our like spiritual connection to God, our awareness. We descended mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically into the ego or into emotion. And our souls that were once whole, that were once masculine and feminine energy together, working together beautifully, like a beautiful whole relationship, our souls basically got polarized, which means then that rather than working together, we work against ourselves. And what happens is when you're in the ego, which is your emotion, energy in motion is motion, E for energy, motion for in motion, energy go, ego. So it's the same thing. Your ego is basically your emotions, and it's either a battle of being in your soul or descending and being in the ego. And you can live a lifestyle that I call the life of light, where you can ascend out of the ego back into the soul, and you unify your soul again to become whole and holy. When you descend and your soul becomes polarized, when you're in your emotion, that is basically like, it's like a love-hate relationship with yourself. You can never find true self-love when you are divided and fighting against yourself. You're either too in your masculine energy or too in your feminine energy, or feeling in love or then feeling in hate, or feeling in happiness then feeling in sadness, feeling in anger then feeling in desire, feeling in excitation then feeling in fear. And it's like swinging back and forth in polarity. This is like duality, polarity. You live in the ego, in your emotions. And when you're in the ocean of emotion, it's hard to see clearly. If you go underwater, you can barely see that far, and you're pulled and swayed by the currents and waves. You can't, you don't have as much control. You can't move fast. You can't like have full control over yourself. And it's when you're in the ocean of emotion, it's like you're just surrounded and submerged in the emotions, the energy, the water, and you're almost drowning in the ego, basically. So veganism, when I met my spiritual teacher, it was at a vegan party. I was telling him how I'd just like learned about the soul and how you got your masculine and feminine aspects of your soul. And I didn't actually know he was enlightened or that he was even on a spiritual path. But I liked talking about spiritual things to people, especially just questioning the universe and stuff. And then he told me that he'd become enlightened back in 2012 through the work of Santos Bonacci, who teaches a lot about syncretism, the holy science. It's this science that you have probably heard quite a lot about because more and more people are talking about it. And it's about having this special oil. Basically, your brain produces a special oil like a cerebral spinal fluid, and your brain secretes this oil, and the oil goes all the way down your spine. And what happens is it ascends back up your spine and back into your brain, but only if your vessel is alkaline enough, clean enough, vegan, and has enough light. So this specific oil, what it is because it's oil. If you think about how you light, if you light oil, um, you can use it to create like if you have a spark, you can use the oil to create a candle and to create light. So when this oil goes down your spine, and this happens every single month or month when the moon's in your star sign, if you've got enough light to charge that oil, because your light being in your chakras, if you live the life of light where you've been building your light and you've been keeping your vessel and your temple clean and alkaline and in the right prime kind of prime situation, almost kind of in the same way as if you're trying to plant some vegetables or plant a seed, and this seed is a Christ seed, and you want to grow a Christ flower, a soul, a tree of life within you. If you want to plant this tree and you've got a Christ seed and it's going to be a Christic tree, if you plant it in soil, the soil being your temple, if you plant it in soil that's too acidic, that's too dry, it's not watered, it's not primed properly, the seed will never grow. And so people are living this life where their vessel, their temple, it's no primed for enlightenment. It's too acidic, it's got animal products in, it's not got enough light in. And every time this moon's in your star sign and you're getting this Christ seed, this it's like a psycho spiritual energy that the moon gifts you. This seed just goes to waste. But if you have enough light, then when the oil is ascended back up to your pineal, it gets transmuted, alchemized into Christ consciousness, and that is when you become illuminated and attain Christ consciousness. But you have to put in this work of living this life of light, and you can't just do it anytime the moon's in your star sign. You have to literally do it as a lifestyle. So he told me then that he became enlightened, and I can too. Anyone can. He's been teaching some of the vegans we were hanging with as well how to do this. And I thought, I want to try that. Like, definitely, I've heard about enlightenment through Buddhism, but I didn't think that anyone could achieve it. I thought it was just like something you had to do after thousands of lifetimes, and you probably had to have meditated every day for like 12 hours in the mountains or something. So I was like, well, what is this? And I want to experience it and see for myself. And this is what he said is like, put in the work. It might seem like you have to let go of a lot of your old life and you have to put these changes into place. It might feel difficult at first, but he said, try it for 4 months. You'll become enlightened after 4 months. And then if you become enlightened and then you don't like it, just go back to your old life, your old way of living. And if you like it, then you can stay enlightened and you can basically keep your Christ consciousness on this plane and be such a beacon and radiate a light for God and your highest self. So one of the biggest key pillars, there was pillars to the enlightenment. The first one is veganism, which I was already doing, but also eating well. So it's like alkaline, but also more just like whole foods, or particularly raw vegan, because eating raw, you're eating this life force energy. So you're building your light even quicker. So it's vegan, be clean, which means wash your hands before you eat, wash your food. Don't like let animals lick you in the mouth. And this is actually because of like parasites and how parasites can mess with your internal chemistry. If you get parasites, even getting contaminated with animal products, if you aren't clean enough, can mess with your internal chemistry. So vegan, clean. And then the third one was abstaining from orgasm. So vegan and clean is building your light through what you're consuming. You can go and do magic and collect light in other ways, but then abstaining from orgasm, the third one, was basically if you orgasm every time you do, you're giving away your light that you should or could be using to build your own chi, to build your own life force energy, to put towards your manifestations, to put towards your spells, to put towards your spiritual awakening, to put towards your ascension and your Christ seed getting transmuted into a Christic light. So that I was like introduced to enlightenment and Jesus through learning about all this, because I didn't think Jesus was real, and then I found out he was real, and this is what he was teaching. So I was like, Jesus was a vegan because this is the truth. Buddha was a vegan, Muhammad was a vegan, they were all vegans. And so I feel this in my soul. Like when I went vegan, if you go vegan, you'll understand, you'll have this awareness and this yesing that, yeah, like veganism 1000% is the way, because you can't consume animal products and animal consciousness and the fear and suffering and the pain that they go through. You can't possibly do that and expect to attain Christ consciousness. And so I watched Christspiracy to see if they had any other points that I never really knew about with Christianity, but that they brought up that would reaffirm that, like, that this is correct. And I understand that this is correct, that you have to be vegan to attain your enlightenment, because my spiritual teacher, he obviously had been enlightened for 12 years before he met me, but he had tried different foods, different drinks, trying alcohol and things like that to find the line or the boundary of what ruins your light so much that your Christ consciousness leaves again? So he was doing experiments with, can I have milk? Can I have honey? Can I have beef? Like, can I drink alcohol? Whatever it was, he was doing these experiments to figure out where it is that, like, basically what this path is, what this lifestyle is that you absolutely have to have as a minimum to attain your enlightenment. So I wanted to share. This might just be a two-part live, or I'm not sure, but um, I I can't stay for too long, but I wanted to share how you can watch Christspiracy for free, because when it first came out, you had to pay for it. And to be honest, I wouldn't have paid to watch it. However, after watching it, I was like, wow, okay, like I actually now want to donate to help them, because to be an activist or to be someone that goes and stands in the slaughterhouses, especially if you are vegan, and to watch people kill animals in front of you just to get the footage so that you can show other people, I can't, the heroes really to be able to do that, because I don't think I struggle to watch it, never mind actually being stood there trying to film it so other people can see what the truth is as well. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen to, let's have a look. See if I can share my screen to show you how to find the documentary for free, and then we're going to just skim through some parts that I found really interesting, especially just really focusing on the spiritual side of things, how slaughtering animals is a black magic ritual, because in this documentary they're talking about different religions and how many of them, all of them, have this main key phrase: do not kill, thou shalt not harm people, do as to those, like, do to others how you want to be treated, kind of thing. Every single religion had this as its staple thing. And the guys were going around to these religious figures saying, hey, is there a spiritual way to kill an animal? Is there a Christian way to kill an animal? Is there a kind, compassionate way to kill an animal? And at the end of the documentary, you realize there just really isn't. And they were talking to different, like, religious people, and people were some of them were doing like animal sacrifice to the gods. And there was actually an interesting part, and I'll show you a bit of it, but they go to India where cows are meant to be sacred. And so in India, I think it's like illegal to kill a cow. You can't kill cows, but it shows you how some people are getting around it. And what they're doing is, like, they're starving these cows. So they've not directly killed them, but they'll starve them to death so that they can get around this law or this religious belief that if they've not directly killed them, then it's okay, and then they'll eat them then, or they'll like smuggle them over a specific border and then kill them there. And how they meant to, like, see cows as a really holy animal, and yet there's one part in the documentary where they decide to do this big animal sacrifice festival, and to listen, to sacrifice animals in the name of God, that is the wrong God that you should be worshipping. Like, that just shows you which God you are looking at and supporting, because God, the highest light, the original creator of our soul, the lightful God, like, God does not want us to harm his creatures, his children. Like, we're all his children, and we've been given dominion over the earth, which means stewardship, which means looking after the earth, which means being guardians for the earth, especially the animals who are innocent, who no serve this pain and suffering we put them through. So if you think about lions as an example, lions, they hunt other animals, they are predators, and they actually have night in them to do those types of things. And you might go, oh, animals need to eat. Perhaps they do now. I actually think that God created all animals and humans to be vegan, because in the Garden of Eden, everyone was vegan. They didn't eat each other. No animals were fighting. Everyone had what they needed in the Garden of Eden, because the word Eden is an anagram of need, because the garden supplied everything we need. And this was in our enlightened state. We didn't need anything other than what the garden supplied to us. And the Garden of Vegan was vegan. The lion would lie with the lamb, and and like we had like seeds and fruit to enjoy. Now, people say that like plants have feelings, they have pain, they are sentient to a degree. The most karma-free way that we can eat is fruitarian, which is or even further breatharian and things like that. But I do think that's more for the future of humans because we've become so dense physically that we do rely on dense food at the minute. However, I see us ascending into lighter ways of living, including eating lighter foods, like more people transitioning to vegan, then to fruitarian, then to breatharian, and things like that, to the point where we won't rely on food anymore. We'll be getting our energy from the ether. Um, Fruitarian is the kind of like the most karma free, and then you can move up to breatharian and things like that. The reason why is because trees grow fruit for us to consume, because what happens is we eat the fruit, we go somewhere, we shit out the seeds, and then the seeds create more trees, and it's a symbiotic relationship. It's a relationship that works together. The trees don't die, they actually want us to consume their fruit. So same with the animals. Fruit, there would have been fruit trees growing in abundance all across the world before they started weather manipulation and before the night really started infiltrating this plane. Fruit trees everywhere, normal, like maybe tropical temperatures everywhere. There wasn't like really freezing cold places and really boiling hot places. Everywhere was a really perfect temperature. The whole world will have been a garden of Eden, and there would have been fruit trees in abundance. No one had to worry. The fruit would drop off the trees, the animals could eat the fruit, everyone was filled with fruit, and they could produce more trees and fruit and fertilize the soil with their shit and stuff. So that's truly, no one has to die or suffer for us to live like that. So with this animal sacrifice, it's interesting because like they were in the name of God, like sacrificing these animals, and it's the most barbaric and demonic I've ever seen. Like in people's, like the fact that people want to slit animals' throats, and when they do, they slit these throats, and they're all cheering, screaming, yeah, like it's some frenzy. It's really weird. It's like my mind was like, is this seriously the demonic energy that's inhuman? Because I really had a lot more faith in us than that. And then you see people, you see these demons working through people, arguing for eating flesh and blood. And the more I've gone into like, the more I've been vegan for like 7 years, 8 years, it's like the more I've become disconnected from the demons, the parasites, and everything else that comes with eating flesh and blood. And it's like now, it's like you awaken more and more. You get the spells that are on you to eat meat and flesh and blood. They wear off, and you start to really see the delusion of eating animals. It's crazy. The further along you get in the journey, the more that this like blindness comes off, and you're like, wow, I can see it so clearly how this is a negative infiltration to put us off the path of being a Christ, to disconnect us from God, to make us crave more flesh and blood. And if you think about this, angels feed off love and light. Demons feed off pain, suffering, and misery. Look at a slaughterhouse. What energy is there, and what entities are you feeding when you're eating these energies? So that's something really important to think about. The thing is, I was watching this sacrifice, and I'll show you, it was a ritual because they did it on a cross and stuff. I'm going to show you in a sec. And I was thinking about that, wow, it's proper disgusting that people do animal sacrifices and stuff in the name of God. And then the funny thing is, like, people at Easter time, whether you've literally been a part of a festival and slaughtered an animal, like sliced their neck, or whether you have gone to the shops and bought yourself a lamb's leg and some like chicken for Easter time, and you've just got all that and you're eating all that, or for Thanksgiving you're eating a turkey in the name of God to give thanks. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. You are still in the name of God consuming flesh and blood, and it's what God and Jesus wants us to do. So it's like you can't really condemn people from doing animal sacrifice when that animal sacrifice is happening in slaughterhouses, and probably more than what they do for religious reasons is the amount of animals that are slaughtered every single year. And in the documentary, they show this. It's like a beef factory, and these guys who work there, they're on parole. They came from prison, and they've been let out of prison into these jobs, and if they don't do the job they have to go back into prison. So they don't want to go back into prison, but they have to work at a slaughterhouse. And this guy's there, he's saying he kills 2,000 to 3,000 cows every single day, every single day. He's slicing their necks, he's forcing them down these like in these into these tunnels and stuff that I was talking about earlier. And he was like, it's really difficult. Sometimes I'll try and sleep and I'll have these nightmares of like slaughtering animals. And he's saying you can look them in the eyes and you can see the tears in their eyes and stuff. Like, I couldn't personally kill an animal. I definitely couldn't look it in the eyes and do that. And I'm pretty sure you guys couldn't either. And then to have to do that two to 3,000 times every single ray and get paid pittance, I bet they barely get paid anything. And you will say like you are a criminal and what have you gone into prison for? But then what do you want? What kind of violence is that getting you used to if you then come back out of prison? And a lot of them, they're ended up killing themselves, or they're ending up getting into abuse and abusing people around them, or getting on alcohol or drug addictions because it's too much for the psyche to handle. It's too much for the soul to handle. It's not fair to put people in that position, and they have to do that for those who are eating meat. So it's like, consider the humans that have to suffer for our demand to eat meat when there's like fake options or mushrooms that you can eat instead. Consider the animals and how they have a life. They have a whole life ahead of them, and yet, for 5 minutes of taste pleasure, you're happy to end their whole existence through a knife to the neck or a gas chamber, which is what happens to pigs. You're happy to do that for 5 minutes. So most of us, like a lot of us, we're kind of aware, but we don't really want to think about it or face it because it is too much. Because we do like the conveniences. If you're out and about shopping, or life can be hard in general, you're not really got time or energy to think about things like this when you just literally need some food and you're trying to get on with life and look after your family and all sorts of stuff. So I'm no saying it's our fault. It's life has been difficult, cancel and delete all that. And it's never been made easy for us on purpose. And this is like, they make it really difficult for us on purpose, no, just so that we can't be vegan and find our Christ consciousness, but also so that we just don't have time to even find ourselves, to heal ourselves, to find God or anything. And the whole way that the whole system in this matrix has been like set up is to poison us in every single angle, and eating animal products is one of those ways that they poison us. So I want to show you how to find the documentary and how to watch it for free. Let me see, share my screen, share my window. Right. So you type in Christspiracy in Google or just in your browser, and it'll come up with the website. This is the website, and then you can go watch now. And usually, because I'm logged in, but it'll tell you to, let me just see if I can show you how to like fully do it. I'll try and log out and create like a new account or something. So you go watch now. Okay, so it makes you watch a short introduction by these two who have made the documentary. You can obviously log in if you've already made an account. What it says is, once you've watched this video up to like 1 minute 30, a little pop-up comes up to say continue. So you have to watch this and then you press continue. I'll show you. There's a little continue button come up down here, look. So you click on continue down there, and then you can pay it forward. You can do one-time payment or monthly payment, and it's nice to support them for what they've done and all the work they've put in to support the cause and stuff. You just press continue for free, and it says you have 48 hours to watch it. I think that you might have longer, but I'm not sure. I'm still within like my 48-hour period. So what you do then is just type in your name, your email. It'll ask you to confirm your email. So you just go into your email and click OK, and then it'll allow you to watch it for free. So I'm just going to sign in. Hopefully I've still got access. Let me just go into here. Verification code. 80. And we should get in. Okay, and then you can just press play there and watch the whole thing. Look, it's only had 70,000 views. They're suppressing this big time. I've like even the posts that they do online and stuff been fully suppressed, because this is one of the biggest things, is the fact that you need to be vegan to attain your enlightenment. And they want you eating animal products because animal products are filled with dark energy, chemicals, hormones, everything that's going to disrupt your internal chemistry, set you out of balance, destroy your soil's vitality. So when you're trying to plant that seed, your soil's wrecked, it's ruined. You can't have enough light to ascend your light, to attain and embody the Christ when you've got animals in your system, because animals and their hormones and their energy is of a lower vibration. You can't possibly try and ascend up when you're descending, when you're filling yourself with stuff that's pulling your energy down, especially in the fact that they're all killed and slaughtered in such horrible ways. Slaughterhouses as well. I just want to get back to stop sharing my screen a sec just to get back to my main channel. Slaughterhouses, they're saying that they've been built on ley lines, which are energy channels and energy lines that run through the earth. It's like the earth's electromagnetic grid, the earth's energetic grid, a net of energy. And the earth's grid, if we plug into the ley lines and fill it with light, it'll shift the earth's energy, light and frequency to a higher one, where everything manifests more lightful and we can fill ourselves with that light, and it builds a more lightful world around us. But if you put demons or negative energy and bring them through into the ley lines, you're channeling that energy through the earth into the earth's magnetic field, and it lowers the earth's frequency and vibration, and then everyone in the earth as well. So they have farms, they have animals suffering, putting out negative energy because they're suffering through their chakra ports, through their portals. They're bringing in pain, anger, sadness. They're in the ego, because animals, I don't believe animals can attain Christ consciousness, but humans can. Animals work their way up to become a human in the cycle of reincarnation, then they can ascend higher. There's levels to the game, and you can, as a human, ascend higher to become a Christ and to become an angel and ascend to become a God and move on from this plane to higher planes. You can also descend into the animal kingdom, into the mineral kingdom, where you become more dense, you're more in the ego, you don't have as many opportunities to ascend down into the hellish realms you go. Or you can go up and down depending on the way you live and the light that you carry. So when you are eating stuff that's descending you, that's the way you're going. And some people get reborn as an animal in the animal industry, so that they have to experience the pain and suffering that they put them animals through, so that they can, in a stand, know to do that again. So people say that slaughterhouses have been built on ley lines, all by the night, all of the night's design, to so that when these slaughters happen, they're pretty much just black magic rituals. They're killing, spilling blood, taking lives, taking the energy, taking the life force, creating traumas, creating pain, fear, anger, sadness, all in these sacred places which are built on these holy lines, these energy lines of the earth. So that's what the energy is that's feeding into the earth's grid, and it's creating more of that. The night, as I said, it's infiltrated all walks of life, and they use every single way and angle that they can to try and keep us asleep, to try and take our light, and to try and keep us stuck down here on the lower planes with them, because the earth, it's kind of like a center plane where you can experience both heaven and hell at the same time. And they want to drag earth down into being like hell, and for some beings like the animals it is hell, and for some who ascend, who do good work, who fill themselves with light, and who really try and get on this lightful path, you can experience like a heaven. Although what I will say is, when you really are about that life, you might find yourself getting more targeted by the night because you're a real threat. If you haven't been targeted yet by black magic, evil ones, the night, negative energy, slandering, whatever it is, it's possible you aren't that much of a threat yet to the light, to the night. Like you aren't living that life enough, or you aren't bringing that much light that they're trying to stop you. And sometimes it's like when you see people getting really targeted with smear campaigns or bad energy or things like that, they're getting attacked and targeted, and it looks like they're going crazy, or what they're going on about. Often it can be that they're being targeted because they really are the light, and it's the night that's trying to target them. So there's loads and loads of spells that are making people eat meat, and obviously parasites and like programming and things like that. But we are like awakening from these spells. The earth is ascending, humans are ascending generally. That's the new age of Aquarius. And as I said, every new age, these ascended masters, they come back to earth to become enlightened and to teach humans how to do it again. This is the new age of Aquarius. We're literally transitioning into it now, and once again, all the star seeds, all the angels, all the heavens, all the light beings, all the higher beings, all the ascended masters, all the gods, they're all here on this plane right now, walking that path, being that light, being that change, making those differences to show others how to do the same and how to lead the way. And it's like really easy to stay in your comfort zone and to stay living that old way of living, like drinking alcohol on the weekends, going out, getting really high. I used to smoke weed all the time. I was addicted to getting high and escaping reality because I just wanted to get high and eat junk food all the time, because I found it easier than having to actually put the efforts in to look after myself, to practice true self-love, to awaken myself, to be an adult to myself, to be on it with life, and to take life seriously, and to take my mission on earth seriously. It's not the easiest path to walk, yet we have to, because someone has to. Someone has to pave the way. And if you don't, who are you expecting to do that? So this is why the life of light, I will teach you how to live that, because I'm living it. My spiritual life, it's no just something I do every weekend or something. It's something I do every single day. I pretty much live similar to a monk or the Essenes, but I do it in an everyday situation. Like, I've still got a 9 to 5. I still go to the shops, and I'm still relying on like supermarket food and stuff. I don't meditate every day. You don't need to do these things. This is a thing. Is like enlightenment is about having a clean enough vessel, being vegan, abstaining from orgasm, alkaline, balance your chemistry, and you ascend your kundalini. And there's different ways to ascend your kundalini or your Christ seed and attain your Christ consciousness. You can do it through spells, through celestial alignments, through plant medicines, or you can just wait till it happens naturally, but that can take a lot longer. I've got a course on my website. I just did a course in December called the 12 Rays of Conscious Christmas course, and it taught you how from the 1st till the 12th of December, it was like a 2-hour call that I did with a group every single ray, discussing different topics on how to attain your enlightenment, how to become a Christ. And it included an introduction on this whole ascension thing. It goes into much more detail to explain it all, explaining how to like how to be a vegan, why you need to be vegan with all the hints and tips, how to get rid of like addictions, how to cut out alcohol, how to cut out junk food, how to be raw, how to abstain from orgasm, a spell that will help you cut out your addictions, how to deal with like people around you and black magic that might try and sway you off the path, how to what else do we how to like do magic to utilize like ley lines and megalites, or which are megaliths, like stone circles and pyramids and stuff, how you can tap into that energy for your kundalini ascension, and then how to actually become enlightened with this the spell that will enlighten you, so long as you've lived um pure enough, like your soul's been primed enough. So it's like a whole course from start to finish on how to attain your enlightenment with everything you need to do it. It's on my website, gabbyzakara.com. It's called like become like how to become a Christ, or how to attain Christ consciousness, or how to become enlightened, the 12 rays of conscious Christmas. It was built kind of guided around Christmas time and how they used to use Christmas as a way of becoming enlightened, because Christmas, it was Mary the female, and Christ, which was like Jesus the masculine, en masse. It was the masculine and feminine within you coming together en masse. So it was a time where many people across the world would use the winter solstice portal as their chance to become enlightened. And so that's why I did it around Christmas time. So the course materials, I'm talking about how Christmas is coming up and how you can use these techniques around Christmas, but you can become enlightened any time of the year. I became enlightened, I think it was in like June or July, a few years ago. And so that's £33 on my website if you wanted to have a look at that. So just to get back onto the Christspiracy documentary, I wanted to just skim through and see if there's anything particular that I really wanted to share. If I do end up leaving abruptly, it's because I've got someone on the way to my house, and if they just turn up, I'm going to have to go and say hi to them. But I'm hoping that I will have time to just have a little look at this documentary. And I'm going to just have a quick check through the comments as well. Oh, I do actually have comments. So guys, sorry, these comments weren't coming through on my they weren't coming through on my streaming platform. So Enki Charman says, hi, love, blessings from Playa del Carmen in Mexico. I started to lose a lot of hair by not eating meat. I feel great being vegan, but that's the deal. Really interesting you say that, because I've heard a lot of people talk about that, especially when they go raw. And what happens is when you change your diet, your whole vessel changes, because you've been having a certain type of fuel, and your vessel's been used to, how do I process this specific type of fuel? So the meat, the junk food, whatever it is, your vessel's been, this is how to deal with this. And sometimes it can come out like in your skin, in spots or whatever it is, or sometimes your vessel can start to deal with it in a good enough way where it can process it. But when you change your diet, you're changing your fuel, you're changing the building blocks, and your vessel, even if the diet's even better for you, the vessel at first is like, what is this like leafy green? How do I deal with this? How do I process this and turn it into proteins? I'm so used to eating the junk food, it's like figuring it out. And what it does is it figures it out. And sometimes people can have a detox, a healing crisis, and it's like they're suddenly releasing these toxins that the body's been storing from eating so much toxic food for so long. You start eating the healthy food, and your body can finally start getting rid of the toxins and start to heal and repair. And it also can drop your hair out, it can make you lose weight and things like that, because what it's doing is getting rid of the old that's full of toxins or that no longer serves, and it wants to rebuild and repair new healthy materials. So people might lose hair, they might lose weight, or they might lose like fingernails or whatever it is. That can happen on the journey to replenishing themselves and starting to rebuild themselves in a healthy way, with healthy building blocks. I would also just kind of be aware of, like, if you are going vegan, making sure you're fully covered in all the nutrients you're having, all the vitamins, all the minerals. Make sure that you aren't lacking in anything. And there's a great app called Chronometer, CHRONOMETER, Onometer. It's a free app. You can download it. You type in all the food you've eaten that day, and it'll show you all the stuff you still need, like vitamin K. You've only had 30% of that. You've had 100% of your fat today. Your carbs, you've had 75%. So you can keep a track, and you can be like, hang on, of all the foods, I'm getting everything but vitamin K. Like, why am I not getting that? What can I have that's got vitamin K in to be on top of that? And then you can make sure your diet is well rounded, and then you're really building yourself strongly with all the vitamins, nutrients and minerals that you need. Strawman says, hey, oh, it's golden juice. Aligns your chakras quick time. Oh, okay, golden juice, which is urine, I think, like aged urine. People drink um, their aged urine, or even just you can drink it fresh. But so many people talk about the benefits of drinking your own waters. So Strawman, thanks for joining. Where do I find the Christspiracy vid? So I'm guessing that's an older comment, because I did show you how to find it online. And thank God it's free, because I'm so glad I was able to watch it. And I've been meaning to support afterwards. I'm just like, I'm going to go and donate to them now, because I appreciate them allowing us to watch it for free, considering you had to pay initially. Strawman says, get the book, Your Own Perfect Medicine. Okay, so that must be about drinking your own waters as well. So, going back to the Christspiracy doc, I'm just going to, share my screen again. I'm hoping that you're able to hear okay. Oh, here you go then, you see. So my 48-hour time limit did expire, so you can't actually watch it after 48 hours. I thought you might be able to as a little sneaky thing, but I'm glad to have watched it anyway. So there was one scene, and I'll just describe it to you. Stop machine screen sharing. There was one scene, and it was basically this festival where they were wanting to slaughter all these animals, and they took a drone and panned over this area where they were slaughtering these animals to see whether they'd really killed that many or not. And the site it looked like a bloodbath, like a war zone. I'd say like 80% of the documentary isn't gory things. It's really like speaking to people, speaking to priests. And I even see the demons in them when they're there, like, oh, God gave us animals to eat meat, and like vegans. And it's like, seriously, you are literally industry plants to try and put people from the light. Like, that's the only way you can describe it. Or they aren't aware that they're doing it. But there actually are people who are planted in all walks of life to purposely try and take people from the light. So like, I would watch it because it's not that horrible and gory, but just to explain, one of the most gory parts was like they panned it up like with this drone, and you could see just like thousands of cows just all on the floor, dead, covered in blood and stuff. And they'd done it as some kind of a religious sacrifice. And it was in like a square. It was in like this walled arena that was in the shape of a square, and there's a black cross right in the middle. So this ritual happened on top of a black cross in a square, spiritually, symbolically, energetically. The cross amplifies the energy that's on that space, and the square blocks it in. So that is what's happening magically. And so they're creating all this bloodshed, all this trauma, all this fear, all this pain, all this horror on a cross, a black cross that's amplifying all that energy created, and the squares blocking it all in, creating this big mass black magic ritual. And then that is basically being used for the night and for their negative agendas and stuff. And so you've really got to open your eyes and see how eating meat, even consume, like being a part of buying meat, because when we buy it, we are we're putting our money towards it happening. When you pay for a leg of lamb, you're paying for the next lamb to get slaughtered, because they have to fulfill the supply and demand. So if people are buying it, they create more of it. So if you stop buying it, they stop slaughtering the lambs because no one wants it. It's not profitable, and that's the only reason. That's the only reason that most farmers do it, although there's obviously the darker, more spiritual agenda of the reason why they want us to eat meat is to disconnect us from God and our own light. So like you can really start to see, especially watching that Christspiracy, and how Noah was a vegan, and like there's so many philosophers not long ago that are fully vegan, like Plato and Nikola Tesla, and like loads and loads of like really interesting like vegan characters. Noah in the Bible was a vegan. Like there's someone called Daniel who was like a warrior in the Bible who was vegan. The Essenes were vegan. There's so many texts that have even been taken out of the Bible and out of the different religious texts to hide the fact that they didn't eat meat. But the more that you start to follow that path, the more you start to see it, the more you start to see how it's no just about people's pleasures. There's a big, darker spiritual war going on surrounding it all. And it is all a black magic ritual, and it is all an infiltration of the night. We can start to be aware of those spells and start cutting them out of our lives so that we can start to be more lightful, consume more light, and ascend in the light again and create more light on this plane. And with that, I'm just going to say, Enki Shaman said, I also lose my sexual desire with fasting, and when I go to the gym and in the 3 meals I eat, I eat meat, I feel more animal. My sexual desire increases. I judge the people by their looks more in the 3D. It's amazing that you're aware of that, because so many people, they don't put 2 and 2 together. They aren't so self-aware that they realize it's because of when they eat meat, they have this low vibrational energy. And that's the animalistic self. That is the ego. That's what animals do. They have those hormones. And especially when they're pumped full of, like with beef and stuff, they're pumped with testosterone to beef them up. And so you're not only eating the hormones of the animal, but you're eating whatever chemicals and pharmaceuticals and testosterones and steroids the animals have been pumped with, so that they grow thicker meat, so that there's more to sell from the body. Animals, if you think about it, they live from the lower chakras of what do I need to eat and who do I need to have sex with to continue like breeding. That's what animals are, is like eating, mating, and sleeping. And so you get those senses and those energies, and the consciousness of the animal ruminates in your consciousness, because the consciousness doesn't disconnect from the body. So even the piece of steak on your plate, that animal's consciousness is still tethered to the body. It's only when you burn something to ashes that they can disconnect. So when you consume it, then the energy and the conscious awareness is within your field. And if it was a sad cow, because the cow's had its children taken away so we can take its milk, then you wonder why people who drink a lot of milk get really depressed and feel really sad and emotional and stuff. Obviously down to the toxins as well, trying to release the toxins through crying and things like that. But it's really, I'm glad you're so aware of the differences within you when you do eat certain foods and don't eat others. Shawman said, you missed the first 45 minutes. It's all going to be like uploaded onto my account, so you'll be able to watch it back. Strawman said, we don't need food at all. Breatharian, liquidarian people were living to 200 to 300 years old, not so long ago, using these methods, 1,000%. So I too believe that humans right now can go and just live off energy and consume the energy from the ether and from the air and from the ground and stuff like that. But I also feel like if you believe you're going to die, like your own beliefs and your own programming can actually put you in the grave. So I feel like you need to almost like wake up to that and understand how to really tap into the energy and feed yourself with that fuel, so that you can do it in a healthy way and thrive, and and live a really good life, but 1,000%. And people were living longer. People in the Bible, I think, like Adam, was living to thousands of years. And when you do become enlightened, one of the key benefits of attaining your enlightenment is the fact that you stop aging, and you can't die from the hands of man. This is just what it says in the text. So I became enlightened 3 years ago. I won't know if I've stopped aging until like 10 years down the line. I won't know if I can't die from the hands of man until it happens. But the scriptures say that you stop aging because whereas your soul used to be like electrical, and electrical things always die out. That's why you have to recharge batteries and stuff, because electricity, the electrical wave, it eventually decays. But when you become enlightened, you turn into a magnetic, and magnetism, it never dies. A magnet never loses its charge. So your energy, your soul, your vessel becomes like electromagnetic, or like more in the magnetic polarization, where it lasts forever on this plane. Jesus said, you can live forever through me. And he wasn't talking about eternity in heaven, because we're already eternal souls. So it's not like, oh, through Jesus you can become eternal, because we already are eternal. He's talking about on this plane, becoming a Christ, you can be eternal. You don't die. So you don't age and you can't die. People can't kill you, basically. But what could happen is God could decide you go. But most of the time when people become enlightened, like you become a monk, or like you hear about these different monks or tribes who they're enlightened, and they don't die. They can live for 200, 300 years. And when they choose to go, they sit into a meditation. They've built their rainbow body. They go into meditation, and then they just transcend. They don't have to experience carnal death, which is death on this plane. The vessel physically dying. If you eat death, if you consume death, you will. That is what you will experience, because that's what you're consuming. That's what you're putting into your energy field. So it has to manifest in your life. But if you are like vegan, especially if you're eating living foods like raw foods, and you're enlightened, you should. That's what the scriptures say. It even says it in the Emerald Tablets. It says it in the Bible and things like that. You should live forever. I can't prove it yet, because I've only lived the experience for the past 3 years. I'll keep you updated though. I'll keep you updated. And the only thing that people could do, I'm not going to even put it out there because I don't want to cast a spell. So let me just see if there's any other. Enki Charman said, I read a book by Nikola Tesla that explains how vegetables are a high form of energy, because we need the sun energy, and meat is a low one, because they eat the vegetables, and it's an indirect way to charge us. That is exactly it. When you're eating raw foods, because I'm like a raw vegan, so I eat raw fruit and vegetables. I don't cook it, because the raw fruit and vegetables still has the life force energy in. But if you cook it, it can kill the life force energy. And so the sun imbues the fruit, imbues the vegetables with its light. Fruit are more highly charged, because vegetables are kind of like grown in the ground, or sometimes taking a vegetable can be like taking the root from a plant, and it kills a plant, so they can be of a lower frequency. But fruit's the highest, and it's filled with the light of the sun. The sun imbues the plants with its light, and you can consume those plants and take the sun directly, or even just absorb the sun directly, literally through your skin, through your eyes, through sun gazing, through charging up through the ground that's been charged by the sun, and things like that. So we want to become lightful. We want to become a sun, a Christ, a solar being. Then we need to consume the sun. And so definitely being like if I was a fruitarian, which obviously I'm not, I'm still just raw, you build your way up to doing better and being better and stuff. But if I was a fruitarian or even a breatharian, I would love to live in a nice, warm, hot country with lots of sun, because I'd probably need it to sustain myself better. But even doing breath work techniques and things like that, I reckon could be charging you up and filling yourself with light. There's so many ways that you can charge yourself up and fill yourself with light and energy without needing to eat food. If I was doing a fast, I would be grounding to the earth. I'd be charging up through crystals. I'd be charging up through breath work. I'd be charging up through music and frequencies. There's so many ways to fill yourself with that light and energy without needing to eat for it. And she said, "You've been very interested on the Dzogchen rainbow body for many years, and I had vision, GIRS, before I knew what it was." So it's interesting because it's most likely that you've already attained it in a past life, your enlightenment and your rainbow body, because most of us who are interested in this stuff, it's because our soul has a remembrance for it. And most likely, if you've attained it in a past life, you will in this life as well, because the soul always, um, once it's attained something in a past life, even got the knowledge and stuff, it it holds on to it in future lives, and you build from that. So you'll always keep progressing unless you actively start to fall asleep and go backwards. Um, Strawman said, Chilean photography shows you the energy of foods and fruits. It's powerful stuff. I love, if I was to get any kind of like a camera, I'd love a Chilean camera. If anyone doesn't know, the Chilean camera basically takes a photo of the energy field so you can see how much energy, charge, and light is in a cooked tomato compared to a raw one, or a slab of meat compared to an apple. And it's really interesting to actually physically see the life force energy, because if you can't feel it, it can sometimes feel like a bit of a pseudoscience, or is it even real? But more and more, we're bridging the gap between spirituality and science, where we can actually start having equipment to see and experience these things. And eventually, our vessels will be the equipment to see and experience these things. Eventually, we will all see the energy within food. We'll feel it, we'll sense it, we'll see it, we'll even hear it. We're all heightening our psychic awareness. Those who are choosing to ascend, that is the timeline, is like becoming more sensitive, becoming more aware, becoming more lightful, and ascending upwards in the light rather than the night. So I'm just watching my street live stream back, and it's really behind. It's like probably like 15 minutes. No, I think that I must just be watching it back. Yeah, hang on, let me just catch up with. Okay, I was watching it back, but it was like 15 minutes behind, and I was thinking that everyone else was in the same position. I was like, shit, am I really behind? But actually, it was just the stream that I was watching. So Strawman said, aiming for fruitarian, doing the golden juice every day as well. Yeah, and how long have you been vegan? How did it feel to go from your old way of eating to like starting to put your health first and your self-love first? I really feel like, especially when I went raw, my spiritual awareness, my sensitivity, my energetic ability to see, sense, hear, and feel things just like went through the roof, 1,000% from eating the raw food. I'm gonna try and upload this live onto like my YouTube and stuff as well, but I don't know if it's going to get banned. Hopefully not. 7 o'clock is when my friend is due, so what I'm going to do is jump off the live now, but I'll do some lives again, possibly on here, share some more videos to YouTube and things like that. I did take a little bit of time off over the holy rays just to replenish myself, and I am back now. So thanks to you all who's jumped on this stream and been watching and supporting. I've not gone live on Rumble. I don't have many friends on Rumble here yet, so I appreciate you heading over if you are someone who supports me on the other platforms, and I appreciate you sitting and spending this time and sharing your beautiful energy and sharing your wisdom in the comments as well. So sending you guys so much light and positivity and joy and blessings and awakening, and hope you have the most beautiful, wonderful, blissful 2025 yet. This is the year for mega change in the best way. Stay grounded, stay healthy, stay on the path. And if you're interested in learning more about any of this stuff, I'm doing monthly calls. So on my website, you'll find I've got like a membership program. It's £6.99 to join for a month, and you can pay every month, or you can do a pay £69 and join for the whole year, which is actually a discounted price. It works out about £4 or £5 a month. And we're doing monthly calls or monthly calls every single month where we're going to be studying enlightenment, but it's quite an intimate group at the minute. So you'll be able to join the calls and ask me anything. Like if you want to know how you can attain enlightenment in your own life, or what you need, what small changes and steps you might want to start making in your own life, or tips on how to do it, or anything, or even just you want to learn about magic or anything. It's going to be like a small group of us that's getting on calls every single month or month, with a private group as well to message each other in, really just like studying this enlightenment path, but not only studying it, actually embodying it and living it as well. So feel free to have a look at that. I'd love you to join our group. It's only for those who actually want to be of the light and have good intentions. So make sure that if you are interested, you are of the light, you are wanting to become your highest and best self. We don't consent to any negatives, any haters, any people who are of the night trying to bring down the light. So just to finish, and Kimen said, I hesitate on becoming a hermit because my heart has a call to have children. I believe I can bring consciousness through teaching them, still considering detachment from the simulation. It's an interesting one. Everyone's on their own path. Like my sister swears that she was here to have children and she was here to bring in like a rainbow child. I would say this: having a child, it's going to take up so much money, so much time, so much focus. It's going to be at least 16 years of you even bringing them up to get to this level that you are on in your conscious awareness, in your awakening, and in stuff that you can do to help the earth. It will be 16 years of struggling to look after and bring up a whole being to get there. So I feel like a lot of people, they're tricked into having children. They're even under spells to have children. They think that they want children, and maybe you do. Maybe honestly your soul has already made a contract to bring in rainbow children and to be that. So I can't say that to you, but I will always vouch for no having children and no getting tied down, because not a lot of people do. And I do feel like people sometimes have children and they do regret how much energy and effort it takes from their own awakening, their own life, in the fact that they have to now put their everything into growing a child from young to like 16 plus, to even get them to the stage of being able to assist in the awakening. And you've got to be careful about the child sex trafficking. You've got to be careful about homeschooling. If you're awakened, are they going to try and take your children off you? Like, you've got a whole nother level of people that can F with you because you've got this emotional attachment and you want to look after your children. You want to protect your children. So now you're tied down into needing to live a certain way and keep this job because you're trying to look after a child and stuff. It's like all of that, and then after you do pass on this plane, having your emotional connection to a child can drag you back onto this plane because you want to look after them, or you miss them, or you just love them, you have that connection with them, and then it's hard to escape the cycle and samsara if that's what you keep doing. But like I say, you might know within your heart of hearts that you are here to have children. You might have already had that contract with them. But I'll always say the opposite, because not a lot of people share that truth, and it is true. Like, I see a lot of people saying it's harder than they thought, and I do personally think that they regret it, even though they would never admit it and say it. So, sending you so many blessings. Thank you to you both, and to everyone else that's been watching. Have the most wonderful, wonderful Ray, and I'll see you again soon online. Ta-ra!